Hi students, this is Botany PSR. Today we will discuss about the stem. Where does this stem develops? How does it grows? What are the functions of stem? What are the modifications of stem? These points we have to discuss today. Okay, right. Stem. Where does this stem develops? The stem is developed from plumule of embryo. This stem is developed from plumule of embryo, whereas root system is developed from radicle of embryo. This stem means grows like this. So stem is positively phototropic and it grows ascending portion of plant. Ascending means like this. Descending portion of the plant body is nothing but root. Descending portion of the plant body is root. Ascending portion of the plant body is stem. On the stem, let us suppose this is the stem. These are the leaves. The part of the stem where the leaf arises, that is so called node. Node 1, node 2, node 3, like that. The part of the stem where the leaf arises is called node. The distance between two successive nodes is called internode. Internode 1, internode 2, internode 3. That means, what the formula means? Number of nodes is equal to number of nodes is equal to number of internodes is equal to number of internodes is equal to number of nodes minus 1. Let us suppose in this diagram 1, 2, 3, 4. How many nodes are there? 4 nodes. How many leaves are there? 4 leaves. So, what is a node? What is a node? Part of the stem where leaf arises. Part of the stem where leaf arises is called node. What is an internode? Between two successive nodes is called an internode. According to this given diagram, number of nodes 1, 2, 3, 4. Number of nodes 4. Number of internodes 1, 2, 3. So number of internodes is equal to number of nodes minus 1. And let us suppose this is the leaf. This is so called an axil. What is an axil? The angle between the stem and upper surface of leaf, or in other words, the upper angle between the stem and the leaf. This is not an axil, only this is an axil. So this axil contains an axillary bud. This is so called axillary bud. If the bud is present at the stem tip, it is so called terminal bud, also called apical bud. If the bud is present here, means it is so called terminal bud. So how many types of buds are there? If the bud is present in the axilla of a leaf, it is called axillary bud. If the bud is present in tip of the stem, it is so called terminal bud or apical bud. Okay. So what the functions of stem means? Stem is useful for, main function of the stem is spreading out branches. Spreading out branches. The branches which bear leaves, flowers, fruits, seeds, etc. And this stem is also useful for conduction of water from root to the aerial parts of the plant body. Also useful for conduction of food materials from leaf to the root. That means conduction of water, minerals and food materials. So main function means spreading out branches. Second function, that is useful for conduction of water, minerals and food materials. Now these stem will show modifications. Yes. What are the modifications of stem? Modifications of stem are of mainly three types: underground stem modifications, aerial stem modifications, subaerial stem modifications. If the modifications that occur below the soil, those stem modifications are so called underground stem modifications. If the stem grows above the soil, that type of stem is so called aerial stem, and those modifications are so called aerial stem modifications. If part of the stem is underground, some part of the stem is aerial, that is so called subaerial. What is subaerial? Some part of the stem is underground, some part of the stem is aerial. That type of stem modifications are so called aerial stem, subaerial stem modifications. What are aerial stem modifications? That is the stem which grows above the soil is called aerial stem. If it shows modifications, so called aerial stem modifications. So what is a modification? The modification means the permanent change. Do not consider as temporary change. The permanent change in different plant organs. The permanent changes in different plant organs, that is the permanent structural changes in plant organs, is called modification. The modifications that occur in stems are called stem modifications. The stem modifications are of mainly three types: underground stem modifications, aerial stem modifications, subaerial stem modifications. Okay. Now underground stem modifications types: rhizome, culm, stem tuber, bulb. Rhizome, culm, stem tuber, bulb. Aerial stem modifications types: stem tendrils, thorns, phylloclades, cladophylls or cladodes, bulbils. Of course, these two not in NCERT. Next, what are the different types of subaerial stem modifications? Runner, stolon, sucker, offset. So bulb is a underground stem modification. Bulbil is a aerial stem modification. Bulbil is a aerial stem modification. Right. So first of all, we have to discuss underground stem modifications. Underground stem modifications are also called multi-purpose stem modifications. Underground stem modifications are also called multi-purpose stem modifications. MOD means modifications. Why? Because these are useful for storage of food materials. These stem modifications are useful for perennation. What is perennation means? Which tide over unfavorable conditions, which protect during unfavorable conditions. As these underground stems are present below the soil, these are also useful to protect from herbivorous animals or grazing animals. So protection from herbivorous animals, also useful for vegetative propagation. So underground stem modifications are also called multi-purpose stem modifications because of storage of food materials, perennation, protection from herbivorous animals, and last one, vegetative propagation. That's why the underground stem modifications are also called multi-purpose stem modifications. What are the different types of underground stem modifications? 4 types: rhizome, corm, stem tuber, bulb. One by one we have to learn. Okay. First one, rhizome. What are the examples of rhizome? Rhizome means examples, that is ginger, So if you observe, the ginger means like this. So these are the nodes. These are the nodes. At the nodes, scale leaves are present. Scale leaves are present. So this is node. Okay. So what are the examples of rhizome? Means ginger, and next one turmeric. Ginger, turmeric. Okay. Right. Now from the distance between two nodes is called internode. Internode. So there the adventitious roots are developed. So it grows horizontally. So horizontally, it grows horizontally below the soil. It is dorsiventral. So the underground stem modification that grows horizontally below the soil is called rhizome. It contains many nodes and internodes. At each node, number of scale leaves are present. These are nothing but adventitious roots. Adventitious roots are present. Dorsiventral, that is dorsal side and ventral sides are present. Examples of rhizome means ginger, turmeric. Next one. Next one is corm. Corm. Examples means one is Amorphophallus. Amorphophallus. It is commonly called Jaminkand. Amorphophallus is commonly called Jaminkand. And second one is Colocasia. Examples of corm is Amorphophallus and Colocasia. If you look at here, means this is the corm. These are the nodes. These are the nodes. At each node, what do you find? Scale leaves are present. Scale leaves. These are nothing but scale leaves. So these are scale leaves. Here also scale leaves only. So here daughter corm is developed. Daughter corm. So it grows vertically. So which grows vertically below the soil, and it is not dorsiventral. Not dorsiventral. So the underground stem modification that grows horizontally below the soil. Horizontally below the soil means rhizome. Vertically below the soil means corm. Very, very important. Next one. Stem tuber. Stem tuber example, that is potato. Potato means that is Solanum tuberosum, which belongs to family Solanaceae. Let us suppose here the tips of underground branches. The tips of underground branches store food materials and become the tips of underground branches. The tips of underground branches. That is, underground branches are there. At its tip, the food materials are stored. The tips of underground branches store food materials and become tuberous. That type of stem modification is so called stem tuber. Here, eyes present, and these eyes represent nodes. These eyes are useful for vegetative propagation. Eyes are useful for vegetative propagation. Let us suppose this is the potato and here is the eyes. So this is nothing but eye. Eyes represent node. The distance between two nodes is called internode. Right, this is potato. So what are the characteristics means? Where the food materials are stored means the tips of the underground branches store food materials and become tuberous. And eyes are present. Eyes represent nodes. When these eyes are cut out from the potato plant and these are sown in soil, new plants are obtained. That's why eyes are useful for vegetative propagation. The layer that is present around the potato, that layer is so called periderm. What is that? Periderm. That is which is formed during secondary growth. The layer present around the potato is called periderm. Actually, this dot-like structure is so called axillary bud. This one is so called leaf scar, together called eye. Okay, next fourth modification, that is bulb. Examples: onion, that is Allium cepa, and garlic also. Garlic, that is Allium sativum. Right, what is a bulb? Here in this bulb, let us suppose this is the stem and these are the leaves. These are the leaves here. Actually, these are the leaf bases. So there the adventitious roots are developed. So that is fleshy leaf bases. These are the adventitious roots, and this is so called discoid stem. So what are the characteristics means? Discoid stem present. Discoid stem. The stem is disc-like. And next one, fleshy leaf bases present. That is, they store food materials. The underground stem modification, which stem does not store food materials. Stem does not store Stem does not store food material. The underground stem modification which stem does not store food materials means bulb. Here, the underground stem modification in which roots are absent. Here, roots are also roots. The underground stem modification which adventitious roots are absent means stem tuber. Here also adventitious roots are present. So here adventitious roots present, here adventitious roots present, here adventitious roots present, but here adventitious roots are absent. The only underground stem modification which adventitious roots are absent means stem tuber. Next one. Here the stem stores food material. Here the stem stores food material. Here the stem stores food material. Here the stem does not store food material. That means the only underground stem modification in which stem does not store food materials is bulb. Okay. In bulb, which part store food materials means leaf bases. The leaf bases store food materials and become fleshy. That's why those are so-called fleshy leaf bases which store food materials. Okay, the stem does not store food materials. What type of leaves are present? These leaves are so-called radical leaves. Radical leaves which are concentrically arranged. Radical leaves are present in bulb. In bulb, which part store food materials? Leaf bases, but not the stem. Stem shape is disc-like or discoid, or the stem is reduced into a disc-like structure. Okay, so these are the 4 different types of underground stem modifications. So please note down all these points, my dear students. Later I will explain. Now look at here, my dear students. Next one is aerial stem modifications. What are aerial stems which grow above the soil are called aerial stems. If they show modifications means those are so called aerial stem modifications. Those are of different types. Stem tendrils, thorns, phylloclades, cladodes or cladophylls, bulbils. First one, stem tendrils. Let us suppose this is the stem. This is the leaf, isn't it? So here is the axillary bud. Axillary bud, where do you find? In the axil of leaf. So here, this is the axillary bud. That is, this is the tendril. The axillary bud is modified into a tendril. So how it is? Tendril means slender, spirally coiled, slender spirally coiled structures. Spirally coiled structures. These are useful for climbing. These are useful for climbing. What are the examples? That is axillary bud is modified into a tendril in gods like cucumber, pumpkin, watermelon. CPW code is, so axillary bud is modified into a tendril in gods like CPW, cucumber, pumpkin, watermelon, and terminal bud is modified into a tendril in, that is grapevines. From here, the stem is modified in tendril means, that is terminal bud is modified into a tendril. Example, grapevines. Next modification. What is the second one means? Thorns. Let us see the diagram. And this is the stem. This is the leaf. And here, thorn is developed. Where does the thorn is developed means? From the axillary bud. So, what will be the thorn definition means? It should be straight, hard, woody, pointed structures. So, that is straight, hard, woody, pointed structures. Straight, hard, woody, pointed structures. These are useful for protection. Tendrils are useful for climbing. Thorns are useful for protection. And what are the examples? That is, axillary bud is modified into a thorn in, that is bougainvillea and citrus. So thorns are found in bougainvillea, citrus. Which part is modified into a thorn means axillary bud is modified into a thorn in both bougainvillea and citrus. So what is a thorn? It is straight, hard, woody, pointed structures. These are useful for protection, that is protection from grazing animals. Next modification is phylloclades. If you observe this diagram, this is the stem. This stem produces branches. Here the leaves are modified into spines. So these are nothing but spines. A group of spines and barb. Actually, if you observe clearly means these are nothing but spines. Small hair-like structures are present. These are nothing but barbs. and total together called areole. So that is wherever the leaves arise, this is so called node. So how many nodes and internodes? That is many nodes and internodes are present. This is the main stem, this is the branches. So that is main stem or branches. Main stem are the branches modified to perform photosynthesis. What is the function of phylloclade means? Photosynthesis. Which parts are modified? The main stem or the branches modified to perform photosynthesis. How many nodes and internodes means? Here the leaves are present means one node. Here this is leaves means another node. Here this is another node. This is another node. That is many nodes and internodes are many nodes and internodes present. Many nodes and internodes present. What the function of phylloclade means? Useful for photosynthesis. Next, these are found in xerophytes. These phylloclades are found in, they belong to xerophytes. That is examples. That is, these are found in drought, arid, climatic conditions. These are found in drought, arid, climatic conditions. These belong to xerophytes only. Examples means 3 examples are there. That is, this plant is so called Opuntia. So Opuntia. Next one Euphorbia. Next one Casuarina. These 3 plants show phylloclades. What type of shape of phylloclades? That is, in Opuntia, fleshy, flattened phylloclades. Fleshy flattened phylloclades found in Opuntia. And here it is fleshy cylindrical phylloclades. Here needle-like phylloclades. That means fleshy flattened phylloclade found in Opuntia. Fleshy cylindrical phylloclades found in Euphorbia. Needle-like phylloclades found in Casuarina. Now one more question. Fleshy phylloclades. Here it is fleshy. Here it is fleshy. Fleshy phylloclades found in Opuntia. These phylloclades are found in xerophytes. All xerophytes show phylloclades. False. Phylloclades found in xerophytic plants. True. All xerophytes show phylloclades. False. Okay. Fleshy phylloclades found in both Opuntia and Euphorbia. Non-fleshy phylloclades or needle-like phylloclades found in Casuarina. So this is about phylloclade. How many nodes and internodes are present? Many nodes and internodes are present, performing the function of photosynthesis. Next one, that is cladophylls. Cladophylls, also called cladodes. Cladodes, also called cladophylls. That is branches of limited growth. This is important. Branches of limited growth useful for photosynthesis. So that means branches of limited growth. Here this phylloclade contains unlimited growth. Main stem or the branches unlimited growth. Here it is limited growth branches. So that is one internodal length of one internodal length of phylloclades. One internodal length of phylloclades is called cladode or cladophyll. And next, in other words, variation of phylloclade. Variation of phylloclade is cladode or cladophyll. What are the examples? Cladophylls means that is one ruscus, another one asparagus. Let us see the diagram. This is the main stem. This is the branch. Okay. Now these are the limited branch. So here is the and here also again branches of limited branches. So this is so called cladophyll. Okay, so these are called cladophylls. So how many internodes are present? Only one internode. Cladophyll contains one internode, one internodal length of phylloclade. So try to remember phylloclade. Common point between phylloclade and cladode means both are useful for photosynthesis. Difference means here it is having many nodes and internodes. Here it is having one internodal length. That's why it is limited growth. Limited growth branches useful for photosynthesis are called cladophylls. Number of internodes in cladode means 1. So this is one cladode, this is another cladode, this is another cladode, this is another cladode, like that. So one internodal length of phylloclade is called cladode or cladophyll, useful for photosynthesis. So this plant name is asparagus. Last one, that is bulbils. Bulb is a underground stem modification, whereas bulbil is a aerial stem modification. Here the vegetative and floral buds store food materials. These modified buds are called bulbils. When bulbils are separated from mother plant, those will develop into new plant. That means these are useful for vegetative propagation. The only aerial stem modification useful for vegetative propagation is bulbil. So what is the diagram means? So examples means that is one is Dioscorea, that is axillary bud, that is in axilla of. In Dioscorea, bulbil is present in the axilla of leaf. That is, here axillary bud is nothing but vegetative bud, whereas in agave, floral bud in axilla of bract on in the axilla of leaf, in the axilla of bract. Let us suppose this is the diagram. So here this is the bulbil. So bulbil is present in the axilla of leaf. This is the diagram of Dioscorea. If we observe, this one means this is the bract, here is the bulbil, bract, bulbil, bract, bulbil, bract, bulbil. This is the bulbil, this is the bract. So this plant name is agave. In agave, bulbils are present in axilla of bract on inflorescence. So this is nothing but peduncle. Inflorescence axis is called peduncle. On that peduncle, number of bracts are developed. In the axilla of bract, bulbils are present. Okay. Now 2 points I would recall. All underground stem modifications, all underground stem modifications are useful for vegetative propagation. That means you have to say true. All aerial stem modifications useful for vegetative propagation. That means tendril, if is sown in soil, will that tendril develop into a new plant? No. Will thorn is sown in soil, will that thorn develop into a new plant? No. So that is the only underground stem modification useful for vegetative propagation is bulbil. All aerial stem modifications useful for vegetative propagation means we have to say false. Next, all subaerial stem modifications useful for vegetative propagation means true. So examples of stem tendril means axillary bud is modified into a tendril in gourds like CPW. CPW means cucumber, pumpkin, watermelon. Terminal bud is modified into tendril in grapevine. Thorns found in Bougainvillea citrus. Phylloclades found in Opuntia, Euphorbia, casuarina. Cladode or cladophylls found in Asparagus ruscus. And bulbils are found in Dioscorea agave. Of course, these bulbils and cladophylls, these two are not in NCERT. So please note down all these points, my dear students, and we will meet in the next class.